no idea. But every slam book, like, you have, when you're a kid, you have these slam book entries, and every slam book I said I would be a managing director, and my mom said, you will, grow up to be, you will do something big in your life. And she's always been extremely supportive in doing that. So when I went to college, I did a lot of classical writings to do. So did research under an MIT prof, worked at some of the biggest investment banks. Just kind of on that journey, will work in a consulting firm for 2 years, go to Harvard Business School. And when I was working and for me, work-life balance actually is not a word that actually comes to me. Work is, to me, it's the same. Like, I love my work. I am extremely passionate about everything that I do. And so it's not work and
life, right?
Like, it's the same thing. Right, and I remember when I was working, so I was interning at this investment bank, and till then I've been very used to work and life being the same thing. And I wanted to come into work on a weekend, mainly because I wanted to catch up on something that would help me kind of get my week out. I really want, no one asked me to do it, and I was told, no, you cannot, because you need to, that's not in line with our work-life balance. That doesn't work for me. And I was like, okay. And then the next day, we had to start work at 8:30 in the morning. I showed up at 8:45 because I had some stuff to do. And I was called into, the office, and my boss said, you're late. This is unacceptable. You can't be 15 minutes late to work. And I was like, okay. And that was when I started thinking about, what do I really want my life to be like, and what kind of, and those are kind of the ideas that we built social cops around, which is what is work, like what should a workplace really be like, right? Like that's not a workplace that I want to be at. If I want to come to work on Sunday, I should be allowed to do that. If I want to come up, to work 2 hours late, I want to be able to do that. And so Varun and I, after here in college, found that's a different story. Founded social costs. And one of the things that we've tried very consciously to do is build a culture. We work extremely hard. Like everybody at social costs works extremely hard. But they work because they're passionate about it. And no one asks them, so we really have, we don't have work timings. So I have engineers who walk into office at like 4 p.m.
Wait, you don't have work timings?
We don't have work timings. We have zero work timings. So the earliest someone shows up to work is at 8:30 and they leave early. And we have people who show up to work at 4 p.m. and stay until like the next morning 4 a.m. We have beds in office, so we have 8 beds. We really try to build a culture where people, so if they're in the middle of work, and ultimately you want people to be productive at work, right? I don't want people to be sitting in front of the computer and saying, hey, I'm working. That's not work. Like you should be working when you're really passionate. If you, had if you didn't get enough sleep, you're not going to be able to work, right? So why don't you maximize for that? So we actually don't have any work timings. No one would ever ask questions as to when someone comes in, when someone goes out. But ultimately, we all, the culture that we're trying to build is that ultimately the company gives you a lot of freedom, but with that comes a lot of responsibility. And as long as everybody genuinely cares about what they're doing, we want to build a place where people can, do the best that they can. So these are all kind of ideas of, when you think about the future of work, right, a lot more people are if you see kind of compared to 5 years ago to today, you'd see a lot more people talking about what is my purpose in life. And you see your generational shift. These are things that I don't think were heard about kind of 10 years ago. What is the purpose of my work? What do I want to do in life? So I think we're kind of in that self-actualization pyramid of the Maslow's hierarchy. I think we're slowly kind of getting to a place where people are really thinking about what they want their life's purpose to be, right? And workplaces need to adapt to that. Workplaces need to build ways and roles for people to be able to do things that they're passionate about and not necessarily come in and do a 9-to-5 job, whether
Our workplaces largely, have they adapted to this? I want to hear some thoughts from the audience. Have they adapted to this sort of culture? Or is it still 9 to 5? And yes, the gentleman over there. Yes,
hi, I'm Vikrama. I'm from Direct Time. So first of all, Prabhupada, it's great to see you on the panel. So just saw your name in the morning, and seeing you here, great role model, not just for women, but for every every professional in the country. In high tech, machine learning, data analytics, and whatnot. And so building the next generation high tech company in the country, great. And yes, the culture that she talked about, a lot of the startups, including Directa, we have this. We have shower rooms, we have beds. We don't have work timings. There are people who come in at 8, leave by 5. There are others who come in at 3 and leave at 12. There are people who have joined and they want to pursue dance as a profession. So they're doing 3 days a week. There are others who have taken a vacation in between to go meditate at Himalayas. So that's also possible. So I think I think it probably is happening a lot in high-tech companies, not necessarily in other sectors, but like everywhere else, I think that culture will hopefully go there to other parts of the industry as well.
Great. Yes, ma'am. Incidentally, do you know we have HuffPost US has sleep pods in the office where you can go in for a quick nap. And unfortunately, Ariana was saying this. So there are these very ultra high-tech sleep pods at the HuffPost US office. And soon where you're allowed to go in, if you're tired, you've come in early, you've done a late night, you can go and have a nap. Sooner, as happens, 2 people started getting into the pods at one time, and this is a trend that Eliana noticed, and we were asking, so that was so interesting, and she's very cool about it, and then when she was here in India, and we were asking her, we should also get those pods. So, it's a great concept though, because she's very big on sleep, and how that, kind of getting sleep, affects your work. And yes.
Yeah, I'm actually running a company called Univision Consultancy Services with my husband. And in our company, it's a small startup. We've started about a couple of years back. We have about 4 to 5 employees. And along with me, there are a few others who have flexible timings. We work whenever we get time. I work in the middle of night, sometimes early in the morning. But then we do have some people who work fixed hours because that's when they have to interact with other people. We cannot make their work flexible because they are dependent on talking to other people who work at certain times. So I don't see this kind of flexible culture going everywhere. It probably will work for some people, but it will not work in all areas in any company. And that's my personal thing.
So, if I could add, this is actually a problem that we started facing because obviously as teams grow, interaction is important. You obviously want people to be at office and things like that. So what we kind of did was every team came up with okay, these are the kind of tentative times that we would like to be in office. Right? You don't want to do it all the time. There are 3-4 hours in a day that you want people to be around. And those times were things that the team collectively said, hey, you know what? These are times that we're going to try and be there. And we picked a day for meetings and we said, hey, we're going to fix these meetings. And one of the things that we try to do consciously is we try to minimize meetings. If it's not necessary, please don't meet. It's just a waste of time. If there's a way that you can actually start building structure into it. You're right, it is important for some people to be able to interact, but if you build the right kind of structures into it, it is possible to make it work.
I'd like to add, actually, most of our meetings and most of our discussions actually happen on WhatsApp currently. We don't go, I've not yet met all my employees. My husband does that job. He goes to the office, he meets the employees and he meets other people. There's somebody who's working out of Gurgaon and she's never met us. We've been working for about a year, but we've never been able to catch up with each other. But the fact is, we work with certain clients. They work in US, they work at certain times. We cannot change those timings. So we do have that's a limitation that certain companies will face for certain people. But yes, those people who don't have that kind of interaction, we work at our own times. And in the middle of the night, I can get a WhatsApp from my colleague in Gurgaon saying, hey, Shweta, this needs to be done. And then, okay, I'll say, if it needs to be done right now, I'll do it right now. Otherwise, I'll do it in the morning. So, yeah, that's it.
Purvia, you want to?
Yeah. Actually, I would completely agree with Prakulpa ma'am. Prakalpa, one question, how large is your team?
40 people.
40 people. Yeah, so just wanted to relate, to Prakalpa's story. So when Urban Club was like 6 members, small, we used to work like 18 hours, very, very small office. And so, and at that point of time, these questions did not erupt in what should be our work plannings and all, similar to what Prakalpa is saying. And now we are like approximately 400 member company, and these questions start coming up. Oh, where is he? Where is he? I can't find him, because everybody is like working the same way as Prakalpa is mentioning. Working in at 12 or 4 o'clock and working till late night. What we decided to do together was we'll just fix up some common timings where everybody will be there and I can get the work done very quickly the same day. With growth in the team size, certain things have to be compromised or have to be worked about. Ultimately, I would and Urban Club does promote this sort of culture where you are responsible for your own work. We won't monitor your time.
Right. Having a flexible work culture, how does that affect productivity in the long run? Having very flexible timings, you are a digital, you work from home, you work for a host of news organizations, and how flexible are your timings, and how have you surely you've seen it change over the years?
Thank goodness.
Right.
Flexible working has been a lifeline to me, and I would go insane without it. So I think it's very progressive and very forward-looking, the scenario that you portray. I mean, obviously there are industries, you wouldn't want to turn up to your doctors and find that they decided to come in at 4 p.m. There are industries that are, sadly, aren't able to be so flexible, but increasingly, the flexible and the mobile workforce is very much the face of the future, and increasingly, it's great for me. I'm freelance, I'm a mother, I've got 4 kids, I work across a number of different areas, I'm writing books. These are things that you can do anywhere, and you can do it whenever. And that's, for me personally, it's fantastic. There are downsides. The downsides is, of course, increased job insecurity. And I would also say, and that's why I'm heartened that you both have engineered sort of a common time for colleagues to meet, because I've worked in big newsrooms and I love the kind of the vibe, the colleagues. And working on your own and sitting at home and writing a book, it's really sad and lonely, and you just go a bit crazy. And so it's really nice to have colleagues again. And sometimes, so that's the downside of flexible working, is that you lose that contact and the kind of cross-fertilization of ideas and skill share and just fun of having colleagues.
Yes.
I'm Gitanjali this time, and I would like to tell you one thing, that I'm working in a Japanese MNC full-time in legal capacity, but there is no flexibility. We are following that 9 to 5:30, but with a child coming in my life, and with the school work, and as the classes are progressing, I require flexibility sometimes, not every day, but sometimes. But that is not given. That is, even if we give them the idea, they are not open to it. So that's why I'm looking for flexi timing jobs. That's why I'm attracted to it. Otherwise, it would have been the case. So there are still certain companies in India which don't follow, they don't give flexibility to women. So that I wanted to share with you.
Yes.
Thank you for the esteemed panel's discussions. The subjects have been very wide-ranging and interesting. We've been discussing the future of work, which does kind of presuppose that there has been a past way of working. I don't necessarily have a question, but one of the thoughts that came to me as the panelists were speaking was that the reason we're talking about flexible working is because the past has been rigid, like one of my friends here said. And with the new generation only experiencing the flexible way of working, will we lose out on some of the best management practices, that team bonding, that discipline, that commitment, that physical interactions, constructive dissent kind of brought up when you were physically interacting in a defined workspace, in a defined work environment? And I'm not necessarily talking about culture.